it over to RJ.
Thank you, Austin. Welcome, everyone. I'm excited today to be learning from our amazing customers, Built Brands. But before we dive in, my name is RJ Bechet. I'm a manager at Beekeeper. And today I'm here with Shannon and Shane. Shannon, can you introduce yourself first and then Shane next?
Sure. My name is Shannon McQuarrie. I am the VP of Human Resources here at Built Brands. I've been with the company about 2.5 years. We are a little bit of a newer company. We've been in business just a little bit over 3 years. And I have spent the last 21 years in HR and have a degree from Brigham Young University and love the human resources aspect of business.
All right. And my name is Shane Fisher. I'm the Director of Human Resources here. I work with Shannon on her team. I've been here for a little less than a year. Super excited. When the opportunity came to come over here to Built, I jumped at it and have been extremely happy. My experience is in HR for about the past 15 years, a little bit more towards the recruiting, the development, training aspect of things, and just general culture development. And just happy to be here and excited to talk about this.
Awesome. Thank you both. As we come onto the agenda, it's a simple agenda for today. We've already completed the introductions. Next, we'll dive into an overview of where are we with COVID today and what's the current labor market like. And then we'll jump into a discussion with Shannon and Shane to understand how Built Brands has managed both of these. And if we have time or a few minutes at the end of it, we're going to do a Q&A. And as always, feel free to submit your questions in the chat bar at the bottom left, one of these two sides on your screen. So to start off, where are we today? In today's world, the vast majority of the global workforce works on the front line. They spend their days in front of our customers, at our stores, or behind the scenes, changing linens before our guests arrive at our hotels, or on the front line in manufacturing plants, doing the essential work to provide products to the public. But unfortunately, under 10% of these frontline employees have access to the software and tools that office workers have. And lastly, because these organizations aren't adopting technology for their frontline, many organizations have to stick with the status quo. Deloitte recently estimated the cost of status quo, instead of adopting technology, would cost the organization $8,000 per frontline worker per year. In today's rapidly changing world, the last thing you want to do is leave 80% of your workforce uninformed. This quote unquote challenge of change has never been more front and center than it's been during COVID. From practical safety measures to OSHA ETS and everything in between and beyond. Work is complicated. It's full of change. And we need to be agile to ensure that everyone is informed and has the tools they need to do their job safely. Now that we have an understanding of where we are today, let's learn a little bit from our guests, Shannon and Shane from Built Brands. Start off, Built Brands has over 300 team members, not employees. We have team members. They are producers of some of the best tasting protein bars on the market. Believe me, I know. And they are capable, their plants are capable of producing over 500,000 bars daily. Now, Shannon, sorry. Now, as we take a step back and think about the workforce, can you tell us how Built Brands thinks about their workforce?
Yeah, for sure. So as you mentioned, we don't use the word employee. We really think of ourselves as a team, and whether someone's in production or fulfillment or even on our HR team, we don't consider ourselves individual silos, but we're just a team. We all are here for the same goal. We are all here to accomplish the same things, which is to make Built successful. We succeed as a team. We lose as a team. We want to make sure that each team member has the tools that they need in order to be successful. Shane mentioned that he's heavily involved in our personnel and development and culture. And, that's exactly what he does day in and day out. We are the type of team that, Shane and I are out on the floor. We're communicating with our people. We're talking with them. We're spending time with them. We don't just sit behind a desk all day. We really want to make sure that our team members understand that, they have a resource in us. Our compliance team, they're on the floor. Our marketing team, they're on the floor. We actually really just want to be in front and present of our team members to make sure that, they understand that it's not, you versus them or us versus them. It's everybody works together as a team. And in reality, our teams have to be complete to function. We can't have, half of a team. If you're missing your goalkeeper on a soccer team, you really aren't going to win. You don't have anybody to protect those goals. And so in similar instances with a lot of our teams, if we don't have specific individuals to do specific tasks or roles, they're not going to succeed. And so especially in HR, Shane and I, it's our role to make sure that these teams are complete and that we're getting the right kind of people, at the right time to make sure that we're able to have, a full set of team to be able to run a production line or to ship out product or to help staff.
Thank you, Shane. Anything you wanted to add into there?
Yeah, I think just to kind of emphasize that team aspect, I mean, we hear a lot about family. We hear, we hear these this other terminology and things like that. And for us, like Shannon said, for me, family is like a very singular unit. 4 people raised up in the same culture, very unique, and all of them are kind of looking at different goals. If you have kids, this kid wants to go into computer science and this kid wants to do this, and they're kind of spread out. But the thing about the team aspect that we kind of bring in is we welcome that diversity. We have that inclusivity. And so we have a very diverse workforce, different cultures, different things like that. And we're all focused on the same goal. So we can take these skills and we can do that. And for me, that's the team aspect. You have someone who's fast, you have someone who's strong, you have someone who's this or that. And you bring those people together with this great leadership that we have and focus on one goal. And it's impossible not to achieve it, and that's the kind of way that we focus on it.
All right, thank you. Now, as COVID hit, how did you handle that first wave?
So I think we were in the dark, like the rest of the country, on how to manage that first wave. Ours came immediate. It was, the very last day of March, the very first kind of week of April. We had a really strong wave that came through. We struggled big time to communicate with our teams. I think we were overly cautious, and being overly cautious didn't save us. We still had a lot of claims. We still had a lot of people that got sick. We have a partnership with a company here locally called HelpSide, and they really helped us navigate and manage the ins and outs of the ever-changing laws. And so, April 1st of 2020, the FFCRA came into works. And so we had to learn how to manage that. We had to learn how to decide, if somebody was out getting tested or somebody was out because their kids couldn't go to school. There was many different facets of the FFCRA that we had to follow in order to be compliant. Another thing that I did is I developed a relationship with our local health department. So the first time that we were called to do some contact tracing, I got the person's name and phone number. I asked, can I call you when I have questions? Can I email you with a list of concerns? And she was very, very gracious in saying, yeah, here's my personal cell phone number. Call me when you've got questions. Call me with all of your concerns. We were audited by the Department of Labor for making sure that we were following the FFCRA. We were audited by OSHA to make sure that we were providing a safe workplace. And this all happened within the first month of COVID. This was all of April of 2020. And we passed each one. We passed with flying colors, in fact. The Department of Labor let us know that our partnership with HelpSide, she had never seen something so organized and so 100% accurate in terms of, we had to send over all the documentation of everybody that requested FFCRA leave, payroll records, documentation, and everything was put together because we stayed on top of it. And first and foremost in our minds was making sure that our team members were working in a safe environment, that they weren't going to come to work and get sick, that they weren't scared that they were going to come to work and get sick, but that they also could continue to come to work and continue to receive a paycheck. And that's super important to our team. And so being just aware of all of the different laws and changes, not being afraid to ask for help for partnerships, and not being afraid to really, put yourself in uncomfortable situations, like with the health department, with the Department of Labor. I mean, I made a friend there too, and I have her contact information. I've called her multiple times when I've had kind of an odd situation. That really honestly benefited us more than I ever imagined. But I will say that the communication part, we struggled big time. We didn't have a way to let our entire staff know. We run 24 hours a day. I didn't have a way to let my graveyard shift know what was going on and do that contact tracing on our own. And so I look back and wish, if I only had Beekeeper back then, I would have been able to communicate all of this information to our team.
Did you have to shut down at any time during that time of the first wave?
During the first wave, so we actually voluntarily shut down for a week. It was the second week of April, and we decided to do that in order to clean, fumigate. We weren't running any shifts whatsoever. And we had a professional company come in and just make sure that all of our, basically the air, like the workspace was clean. We have a sanitation team that actually worked that week, and we sanitize our machines regularly regardless. But we really wanted to just have that workplace, like the areas were clean. And then we were back to work, regular schedule. We never shut down. We were considered an essential business because we're food manufacturing. But we did it just for that week in order to make sure that we provided that safe environment for our people.
Nice. And I know, Shane, you weren't there yet. You weren't there for the kind of that first wave, but is there anything you wanted to add to that run?
Well, I wasn't here. I wasn't here for the first wave. You're right. But I obviously experienced it where I was. And so I can only assume that, like just about everyone out there, it just hits you, and it hit Bill like boom. What I can kind of say though is once I started here, Shannon is so well versed in COVID, and like she said, she's built these relationships, and so I saw that, and so the ball was already rolling, and she just knew, all right, now we have to do this, now we have to do this, now we have to do this. We need a way to communicate this information. That was one of her big things. We have to bring the team together. We have to be able to communicate. We have to be able to provide them with the information, especially as we all know, information was changing almost on a daily or weekly basis,
Still is.
And so, when she was like, okay, we're getting Beekeeper and we're going to be able to do this, and this. And, so to be able to be a part of that and to see how Beekeeper has brought us together and allowed us to be able to communicate not only to our team members, but with our team members, to hear their voice as well. And it provides them with that. It's been an awesome experience.
Very good. Yeah, that agility is definitely, we knew we needed to be agile at the beginning, right? Yeah. Before COVID hit in, but once that did and everything started changing on, like you said, almost a daily basis, that was when we realized, we really need to kind of focus on this or find something that'll kind of help us out.
Yeah, for sure.
So, where are you at today in regards to your COVID health programs?
Yeah. So thankfully we are winding down, especially with the Omicron wave. We did definitely experience that the first part of January. The FFCRA mandatorily is no longer in effect. So on that end, it's a lot easier to administer, but it is a little bit harder financially without the reimbursement part from the government. But we are still following the FFCRA as if it is in effect. We are still currently paying our employees if they get sick, or if they want to go and get tested, or if they want to go and get vaccinated. We are working with them individually in order to do that. Using Beekeeper has literally been a game changer for us. You know, when the ETS was going to be in effect, it was a massive driver for us to really, you know, make sure that we understood Beekeeper and we could use it to its fullest. Truthfully, we've only had the program and we've only been using Beekeeper since like early part of December, late November. And as soon as the ETS came out, I thought, well, okay, we have to use this program in order to make sure that we're 100% compliant. Compliance for me is like first and foremost, because that's protecting Built. With half of our team members being temps, it was extremely important to find a platform that would allow me to communicate with my entire company, regardless if they were a Built Bar employee or if they were a temporary employee. The other thing is the majority of my employees don't speak the same language as everyone else. We have multiple, you know, diversity, ethnicities out on our floor. And so it was extremely important that I find a platform to communicate in the language that is most familiar to them. I'm not bilingual with any sort of language. And so being able to communicate with my team for them to understand, I think, you know, it's easy to communicate when it's just the basics, but when I'm trying to communicate to you pay and COVID leave and, you know, FFCRA, what does that mean? ETS, what does that mean? What is OSHA? I needed to be able to communicate all of that in a way that they could understand and not be confused, because that confusion just causes more questions and more leave, more time off. And so Beekeepers kind of revolutionized the way that we can get time-sensitive information to my team members. Before that, we were using like word of mouth, texting, but obviously it didn't reach everybody and it wasn't consistent and it wasn't, you know, the branded message that we wanted to get across. And so we use Beekeeper in order to build policies. So we have a place where we can store all of our policies that's accessible for all of our employees. Working in manufacturing, you know, the majority of my team members don't sit behind a desk. They're not reading their email constantly. And so being able to have something that can, you know, be easily accessible was really important. And then the trackability, being able to track, you know, everybody's vaccination status, everybody's, you know, illness status, those kinds of things has, rather than just like keep a spreadsheet between Shane and I and a couple members of our team in HR, I now can just send out a notification and have everybody respond with their vaccination status. They can upload their vaccination cards. I'm able to see, right now we still currently require everybody to let us know what their vaccination status is. And that's really the requirement that we're enforcing right now. And the reason for that is there's different quarantine and isolation guidelines according to the CDC based upon if you're fully vaccinated or not, which includes the booster, or if you just have your first 2 shots, or if you don't have any shots. All those timelines in terms of leave and quarantine matter based upon your vaccination status. And so Beekeeper is the one way that we use the program in order to keep track of all of that information. And we can download it into a spreadsheet. It's easy to have everybody in the HR department understand and know who is and who isn't. And we're able to share that with the supervisors and managers as needed. So as of right now, as of today, we have 0 active cases. Nobody that works at Built Brands has COVID currently. And so we're very excited about that. You know, we've had waves here and there, just as every company has, but we've been able to manage it because we have partnerships with HelpSide, we have partnerships with Beekeeper, we have partnerships with the health department. And so we're able, you know, to use all of that knowledge to our advantage.
And for getting the word out there, do you know what kind of adoption you have? So are you able to reach all employees with Beekeeper or?
So we have 100% activation, which That when we first onloaded with Beekeeper, and we were doing our initial call with our client success manager, she asked, what kind of activation rate do you want? And I was like, well, 100%. Duh. That seemed very normal to me. And she kind of said, well, that's a little high. We really just see like a, 60 to 70%. And I just said, well, okay, 80. And then I told Shane, on the side, like, Shane, we're really going to get 100%. And it was very, very important to me that everybody bought in. Everybody had to be adopted into this program for it to work. From the top down, our owner, who is extremely busy and has a lot going on. I mean, I looked yesterday, he logged into Beekeeper 3 days ago and he's out of the country. So having that adoption kind of from the top down, but we really had to do a grassroots program. I mean, I looked at it as like we were politicians. We were out on the floor, Shane and my entire team out on the floor, like having people, download the app when they were on their breaks, show them what it looks like, how to use it, what are the cool features about it. And we tracked that, through Beekeeper with spreadsheets. Okay, we've got this person, they haven't logged in. We can see that we've sent them the invitation. Let's contact their supervisor and just say, hey, you need to have this person stop by the HR suite today so we can get them on Beekeeper. The other thing that helped us a lot is incentives. So if you downloaded Beekeeper onto your phone and you set your notifications and you uploaded a photo, you got a t-shirt. And that really was a great driving force because everybody wanted the t-shirt. And it said, great teams are built with our logo. Great teams are built with great people. And on the back, it said what team they're on, if they're on a production team or a fulfillment team or an operations team. And everybody wears them around our facility with pride. And so that was, to me, I thought, you know what, I need buy-in. And sometimes, a little extra something, and swag is big in this place. We wanted to make sure that people bought in, and with that, they got a fun t-shirt.
Well, and I think one thing when you're here at Bill, you'll always hear all in. It's just a term that is always said, and so like Shannon said, when we heard that and they're like, hey, 60%, and she's like, we're going to get it up to here. And we were like, no, we're going to be all in. Everybody's going to be in on this. And like she said, a lot of people just adopted it and just immediately they were brought in. It's really user friendly. It's extremely user friendly. But like Shannon said, we do have, a diverse workforce. Some people couldn't quite understand this and that. Some people like me are maybe a little bit, ignorant when it comes to technology a little bit. And so you need that extra push a little bit. And so to go out there and just invite them and include them and to let them know, hey, this is so you guys will know this and that. And it's so cool now to go out and we see the people on the lines posting, and they're posting this or that, or their successes or things like that. Or to not necessarily have people come into the office and say, hey, I mean, especially, when there was so much uncertainty, to have someone come into the office and say, hey, I just tested positive. What do I do now? And it's like, whoa.
Get out the door.
Get out of the office a little bit. But, now they can just go on to Beekeeper, say, hey, this happened. I did test positive on this date. And like Shannon said, we can track it. And not only to protect our workforce here and protect Bill and to do that, but also to make sure that they're getting the care and the follow up with them and showing that we really do care about our team and the follow up. And so, once again, Beekeeper has just been a strong force for that. And, once we were able to go out there and just say, hey, look, all you got to do is scan this code and you're in. And they're like, what? That's all it took? And I'm like, yeah, that's all it is. Boom. And they're in. And just like I said, that friendliness with Beekeepers just really united the teams. And it's really cool to see.
Yeah, they love it. And we created a COVID stream. It just says COVID company information stream. And that's where we put links to the forms, which has all of our company policies. There's links to So when somebody's first hired or, existing employees, when we rolled it out, there was a form they had to click on to let us know if they were vaccinated or not. We also use it to track if somebody wants to go get vaccinated. There was part of the ETS that required companies to pay for that time, but also if they had a reaction to it. So we actually still put that into effect as well, even though it's not required. And then we have a third form that employees use if they get sick. So if somebody tests positive for COVID, rather than coming in or calling or anything like that, they fill out the form, and it just says, date of onset of symptoms, date of test, and then their results. And then there's a place that they can upload their results. And then the information kicks back to them that just says somebody from the human resources team will be in touch with you regarding your return to work date based upon all of the dates that they entered in. And it's very seamless. It's very easy. At first, we were just keeping a spreadsheet, which obviously if somebody forgot to put something down or forgot somebody, there was a lot of missed payments or, so-and-so hasn't shown up to work today. We don't know where they are. Oh yeah, I forgot. They told me they have COVID. None of that occurs anymore because our employees know exactly where to go and how to put that information in themselves. And, it emails to everyone on my team, and it allows us to download those results and be able to have that information right at our fingertips.
Well, it's funny. Like we didn't plan to go down this path here, and I see how excited you are on there. I know that was an impromptu question I kind of threw in there, but I like that kind of excitement. And the thing is, a lot of the clients that I talk to, a lot of companies that I talk to, their main concern is that adoption. It really is. That's one of the biggest things when we're talking about technology amongst a non-techie, let's say, workforce where technology hasn't been there. It's that concern about adoption. So I'm glad to hear we set the bar low by saying 60 to 70%. I'm really happy we overachieved that and got to 100%. That's definitely something that's on everybody's mind when they're considering technology adoption. So.
Oh, and that was on my mind too. Like, this isn't going to work unless everybody uses it. And really it was we initially engaged with all of our managers and we're like, this is what we're going to roll out. We need you all in. We need you to, once you get in, we need you to start putting content in there. We need you to start posting about your team members. So when they log in, they see it. And that's kind of how it started. And that's how it's continued. I mean, we had a lot of individual teams do their own like Christmas parties, and they're posting pictures from their Christmas party. They did a Valentine's party on Monday, like not prompted by anybody but themselves. And they're posting pictures of their teams eating lunch together for Valentine's. We're posting about the Daytona 500 this weekend. We are the official protein bar of NASCAR. Little plug there. And we are on the front page of NASCAR.com with our driver and our car and our sponsorship with the actual institution of NASCAR. And so letting our team members know, hey, like our name is getting out there and we're just this little, 3-year-old company from American Fork, Utah, and nobody's heard of us. But here we are. And so it is fun. We make Beekeeper fun, but it also allows us to accomplish the jobs that we need to do.
That's awesome. I know I went way off script. And Shane, the original question was, where are you today in your COVID health program? Was there anything else you wanted to add into there?
I think we're good. I think we're pretty good. Like I said, our health program, I'm happy with it. It's easy. Matter of fact, I just posted yesterday and about 20 other people, or commented, I should say, and about 20 other people said the same thing with something that we were doing with our COVID program. And they're like, hey, this is easy. This is seamless. It's like, yeah, it is. So.
Yep.
Good to hear. Good to hear. All right, I'll move on to the next question here. As OSHA ETS and general health information are continuing to change and they continue to be challenging, how have you managed the OSHA ETS, and what's your thinking about employee health and safety?
This was definitely Shannon.
So a lot of HR is educating yourself. I don't have anybody here telling me, you know what, this changed, in regards to OSHA, or this has changed in regards to the CDC. It's a lot of, I search every morning. I have a lot of HR blogs I read and emails that come through. I sit on as many webinars as I can to try and educate myself. And so the first part of the question is managing the OSHA ETS. it was very difficult because it's a personal thing whether you want to get vaccinated or not, right? OSHA saying we can do this because it's in our area of discretion. We can tell you when you need to wear a hard hat, and we can tell you when you need to have earplugs. Unfortunately, all of those are on the outside of your body, and so requiring somebody to put something inside their body. Shannon's views and Shannon's opinions on what's best for Built isn't what we follow. We follow what we're required to do. And so, when we were required to when we thought we were going to have the ETS in effect, we tried to propose it and phrase it in a way that would be comfortable for all of our people. It's changed some of the questions we ask, which is, are you vaccinated? When was the last time you were vaccinated? Because again, that allows us to manage the quarantine timeline. But I no longer have to tell people like, hey, you're going to have to test every single week if you want to come to work. And we were willing to do that. We did not want to alienate any of our workforce. Our team is our team, and I didn't want to keep anybody off the team. And so we were going to work through whatever we needed to work through. And managing that and thinking about, okay, my employees' health and safety, making sure that they come to an environment at work where they are safe is extremely important. Some people didn't think that having COVID was that big a deal and you can come to work and you still be safe. Some people did. And so managing those different expectations and also personal beliefs is really important. But more than anything, it's tracking and documentation is what matters to OSHA. Really, they want to know, have you notified everybody? Has everybody responded? Do you have 100% compliance? That's what matters to them, not necessarily who's vaccinated and who's not. That information is important to us, but to them, it's, are you 100% compliant? And so the ETS to me comes down to compliance and making sure that we're compliant. If that's what's best for Built, that's what we're going to do. The daunting thought before we engaged with Beekeeper was, how do I keep track of all of this? How do I manage it? Especially with employee turnover. We all know that this is an employee's market, and, losing staff and having staff leave, making sure that the new team member that started, that we have all of their information. Like, it's a lot to track, and it's a lot of information to make sure that, there's little intricacies of the ETS. When it comes to testing and to documentation and to vaccination and all of that, you've got to educate yourself. You've got to create a company policy and then make sure that policy is accessible for all of your staff to read. And it's also in the language that they understand.
Right. And I think important to do that. Like I relied heavily on Shannon. Like I said, Shannon is, and like she said, she's studying up on this, and she's, like I said, she's very well versed in this. And so for those things, I still turn to Shannon. Now, personally, I went 2 years, and I was like, I'm invincible, COVID. I was of that mindset, and I am vaccinated, but I'm like, this is never going to touch me. And then it did, and I was like, oh, wait, I'm not invincible. But I think the one aspect that I kind of took with all of this is, thinking about the employee health and safety. We also have to think about of their belief system, their opinions, things like that. And so for me, it was very important just to make sure that they knew that they were supported, even if their belief system was different than mine, or, whatever the case might be. We didn't push them one way or the other. We wanted them to understand that we were all about compliance, and we are all about compliance, and we have to meet certain things, as far as their personal beliefs and things like that. I feel very comfortable in saying that everyone knew that we had their back, that they were supported, and that we entrusted them, with the safety of our company. And that was one of my main goals when it came down to that.
Yeah.
It's a good goal.
And Shane does such a good job making our employees feel that. I'm a little bit more passionate in terms of, well, this is what's best for Built, and we have to do this because this is what's required, and compliance and law. And Shane's more, come in, let's talk about it. Let me help you understand the company's policy and viewpoint, and let me understand yours. And so, time consuming, yes. Highly, highly important when it comes to our team members and retention. Absolutely.
Especially in this market, right? You need to cover both areas.
We do.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that insights. Now, so we talked about kind of where where it started, where are we at right now? How are we dealing with ever change? Now for the future. Now, how are you planning for the future of your workforce and the operations around it?
I'll let Shane handle this.
Right on. All right. I'm actually excited because, now that we have people all in, we're able to really, really use Beekeeper to like for one thing in our training program, our training and development and things like that. So we're opening up a section where we make our own videos and we bring people in and we train them and do the orientation and things like that. And we're able to really start using Beekeeper for much more than just, like we said, the praise aspect. We can encourage behavior through Beekeeper and things like that. And so that's something that I'm kind of trying to focus on just a little bit, is that development aspect, having training videos up there, being able to see who watched the training videos, using those to say, all right, if you've been trained in this, and this, you're getting kind of, up there for maybe a promotion or, to be considered for these types of things. And so I think for us, that's Beekeeper is just going to be vital in that, to provide them for that, along with the in-person, training that we're going to have as well. And so I see that, like I said, it will continue to be a focus as far as praising our employees, recognizing our employees. We have an employee of the week program that Beekeeper plays a huge part of. Just making sure that people know that we are a team, that everyone is valuable here at Built. And once again, getting everyone all in. For me, that's kind of the operations around that.
Yeah. And I think the planning for our future workforce, my goal would be 100% retention. I want people to stay here long term. It's so costly. Turnover is so costly with, recruiting and training and hiring and, what it does for your reputation. And so it's highly important, in my opinion, that we take our existing workforce and we build them up. We provide them training, like Shane said. We provide them with opportunities. We allow them to voice their concerns and their opinions and their desires. Shane is kind of spearheading a learning program, and we have a lot of employees that want to learn English. And so he's like, okay, let's do it. Let's provide this for our people.
I have a lot that want to learn Spanish.
Yes. Yeah. And so, and it's funny because people, I guess some of my staff around here, they're like, so how much does Beekeeper pay you to promote them? And I'm here to say, we're not paid to say any of this other than the fact that it's been such a valuable tool or vehicle for us to be able to, we use forms to find out, okay, what kind of programs do you think we should offer? What kind of benefits do you think would be beneficial to you? Nominate your employee of the week. So, we're just using it. The engagement side of this tool is going to help shape the future of our workforce. Yeah. When you're engaged with your team members, when you're highly invested in them, not just as an employee or team member, but as a person, as a human, as a mother or father or, brother or sister, the more that they see the investment, the longer they're going to stick around. And so why not invest in that? And that's really my take on the future. I know we're always going to have turnover. I'm always going to have to find new team members, But when I onboard somebody for the very first time and I show them what Beekeeper looks like and I explain to them how we use it, I'm getting their buy-in from day one. And now that we have our entire workforce on it, our focus kind of shifts to, okay, new hires, they got to be all in. We got to shout them out. And so our training team after they finish their initial day of training, our training team takes a picture and posts it on Beekeeper. Here's our new team members. If you see them, here are their names, welcome them. This is the department they're working in. And so from day one, they get to log in and they get to see their photo right then and there, front and center. They're bought in. They see that they're cared about. And that's so important in today's, workforce.
Matter of fact, just the other day, we had someone who logged in 10 minutes after they were hired.
Yeah.
Just to say, hey, I'm so excited to be part of this team. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I seriously had to look him up. I was like, who is this guy? And I was like, they were just hired. I was like, wow. But 10 minutes into his job, that was one of the very first things he did was get on Beekeeper and just say, hey, it's great to be here. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's nice. Very cool. Very nice. And I like that you're using a lot of the functionality too, as far as like forms, being able to capture information, do surveys and collect information from the field and finding ways in order to engage and automate a lot of these things. So where you maybe didn't have it before.
Oh, for sure.
That was cool.
Yeah. My mindset is if we're paying for it, I'm going to get all we can out of this.
Well, and I know Shannon's starting up like a health and wellness, what gets you built type format where, and we were like, hey, in order to do this, would you be interested in, joining a softball team? Or would you be interested in having a nutritionist come and talk to us once a week? Or, a dietitian, whatever the case might be. And they were given,
such good suggestions.
12 or 15 different options. And then on that same post, we were able to add a different format and say, hey, give us, write in what would interest you, or, how often would you like this to happen? And like I said, it was just so user friendly that we got a great response for it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. The last question I had here, I guess I should click on that slide. This is this is up to you. If you could provide one tip to every person listening today, what would it be?
One tip. That's hard for me because I'm a chatter. Talk a lot, shocker. I would say just don't be afraid to make it your own. Go find Beekeeper cheerleaders in each of your departments. Have them help you promote the system, and don't be afraid to make it your own. I mean, I don't know if we're using the program exactly the way that it was designed and identified to be used, but we're using what works for us. Right. And make it fun. Like you're engaging with people. It's gotta have something to keep them to kind of hold on to. So that would be my, I guess, 2 tips.
And for me, I think it's just be united. Have that force, and that's what Beekeeper allows us to do. We're able to really unite different teams and focus on that. So when we're working with Beekeeper, I still think that's always one of our primary goals is how is this going to unite this team? How are we going to come together? How is it going to strengthen this team? So that's always in the back of my mind. And that's probably the number one thing that I've witnessed Beekeeper bring to us. I mean, the structure and everything, but the unity for our team is just incredible. It's never been like this. And I've always felt like we've been very, very united. It's just strengthened that. And it's awesome.
I'll go with Shane's answer then.
I'm going to piggyback off of it. Actually, I know I'm not even supposed to answer this question, but what I've seen is there are a lot of organizations that I've spoken with that are like, we just need to get information to our employees, right? But they don't think about what is in it for the employees. Why is the employee going to want to be logging into Beekeeper? What is in it for them? And it sounds to me like you did that. You went and found out kind of what is in it for the employees. What would they want to share with each other? How would they want to come in here and be engaged, so that you can then get that messaging down to that front line when you need to.
Yeah. And honestly, like our staff, they're not allowed to have phones on the floor. So we're asking them to do this on their breaks and after hours. They're not getting paid for it. So what's the incentive? Mm-hmm. We got to make it fun. We got to show them that like this is part of the Built culture. And that's where the buy-in comes from.
Very nice. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you both very much. It's the end of kind of the questions that I had for you, and we'll kind of jump into what are, what questions that we did get from the audience. But before we do so, do want to give a little shout out for those looking or for those interested in learning more about how our clients are able to collect and validate vaccine information and or test results, and how they automated official communication at scale based on those results. Please feel free to visit beekeeper.io or our landing page at the bottom of this slide that you see here. I think Austin might have popped something up as well. So with that, I'm going to go down to the questions that we have received here. The first one we actually did address, and I guess I'll ask you if you had anything more that you wanted to add. It was, how do you manage onboarding employees? And we did go through, the incentives programs, getting the management to buy in, getting the management to let them know which employees haven't logged in so they can go and try to reinforce that. What is in it for the employees, just to kind of summarize what I'd heard before. Was there anything more that you wanted to add into there?
I don't think so. I'm just new hires, just making sure that you have a program or a process in place when you have new team members that come aboard.
Yeah, and to add on to that, it's, we include it in our orientation program. Each new hire for the front line does go through an orientation before they start, and just placing the emphasis on it right from the beginning. And people realize, oh, this is how they're going to communicate with me. This is how I can communicate with them. Yeah. And they just jump right into it.
That's great. All right. Let's see here. Next question here. What type of analytics are you measuring success by?
Oh, so we've been focused lately on stickiness. A couple weeks ago, I think it was probably a month ago, I checked it and it was like 24%, and that irritated me. So we started to come up with a plan in order to kind of get that stickiness up. As of yesterday, it was 54%. So we doubled in just a month. And so that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at last user login. So my team, we meet every week, and I have a team member that works with Shane and I that, I said, okay, I want you to go and target everybody that hasn't logged in within the last week. So look at anybody that's over, 6-7 days, and let's reach out and let's find out why. And let's communicate with the team member individually or their manager, depending on who it is. And let's just let them know, hey, we want you to be checking in, at least every other day. I don't imagine every single day required is, going to be met. I want to make sure a goal that, we set can be met and measured. And so that's kind of what we're looking at right now, but I think it changes. First it was activation, then it was stickiness. Now it's just going to be making sure that those that are activated, all 100% are at least checking it once a week, or my preference is every other day.
We have a metric on there in case the CSM hasn't mentioned it, is weekly active users.
Yes.
We call it WOW. And for your information, it's one of those where we keep this is one of our golden markers as a company that we watch to make sure that, our clients do have engaged employees within the system and are logging in on a weekly basis, and how can we improve that? And that's a company goal.
Yeah. So, and we're taking, so we looked yesterday, like our top contributing user that wasn't like a part of our beekeeper team. They're getting a surprise gift card today. And what that will do is that will show everybody, oh, well, why did he get it? Well, because I'm engaged on Beekeeper, and then they're going to want to do it because they're going to want to get the surprise. And so it's not going to be anything that's like posted or talked about. It's just, hey, we appreciate you for getting in and commenting and contributing and posting, when you are, somebody that just works on the line. Like, they're a part of our team and they need to be rewarded for that. And so that's going to continue. It's just going to be, I'm going to pluck somebody who's a top contributor this month, and they're going to get a random surprise.
Very nice. All right. Let's see. I don't see any other questions in here unless, Austin, am I looking in the wrong section? Oh, good. All right. Well, is there anything else you would like to leave, or did you say your piece? Have you said your piece?
We're just really happy that we found this platform. I did a lot of due diligence. I had a lot of webinars and conversations with multiple companies that provide a similar service. And ultimately, being able to choose something that works for us and has been super successful has been such a win for everybody.
And I'm just giving a shout out to Corey LaJoy and the number 7 Chevrolet Camaro built.com car for this weekend at the Daytona 500. And I had to mention that one, but no, I can't explain how happy I am to have Beekeeper. It's helped me a lot in my job, made it easier, and I'm looking forward to learning more about it even and putting it to use.
Awesome. I love the shout out for the NASCAR and Beekeeper too. But yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. So, okay. Well, again, thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Shane, for joining us and having this conversation. It was a pleasure. It really was. Thank you for diving into those topics with me. Even the impromptu little questions I throw in there. I'd like to see that excitement. So
for sure.
I'd like to wish everyone a great day.